The amber glow of twilight settled like dusted pollen over the city, and in a quiet alley where street lamps hummed soft lullabies to moths, there stood a house. Its windows held secrets in their wavy glass, and inside lived a man named Elias, alone, but not quite, for two pairs of watchful eyes followed his every move, one pair as green as sunlit moss, the other as blue as winter's first ice. This is where our story begins. But before we begin, take a moment to like this story. If your heart feels so moved, subscribe to the channel for more gentle journeys into the night, and let us know in the comments below where you're listening from tonight. What corner of the world holds your weary head? We'd love to imagine you there. Now, let us breathe together, slowly, deeply. Feel the air, cool and soft, as it enters your lungs. Hold it for a moment like a precious thing, then release through your lips a stream of warmth into the waiting dark. Again, notice the weight of your body against the mattress, the way the sheets nestle around you like gentle hands. Listen to the silence between sounds, the distant sigh of a passing car, the creak of an old house settling into dreams. Let your eyelids grow heavy as river stones, sinking into smooth water. Your thoughts, like autumn leaves, drifting away on a calm stream. There is no rush, only this moment, this breath, this quiet. Now, let us step inside the house where Elias sits in a worn armchair, its velvet arms frayed like ancient maps. A book lies open on his lap, unread, for his attention belongs elsewhere, to the small creature curled on his feet, a cat with fur the color of storm clouds, pebbles, her name, a soft murmur on Elias's lips. She purred, a rumble like distant thunder, warm against his ankles. Across the room, on the windowsill, sat the other, Marigold, her coat dappled gold and cream, eyes like frozen lakes, Reflecting the last light, she watched. The street below, a sentinel, silent, still. Elias sighed, a sound full of unspoken words. He had lived here 40 years, watched seasons paint the maple tree outside, crimson, then bare, then emerald, then gold. The house remembered. Floorboards whispered underfoot. Walls held echoes of laughter, now faded. His wife, Clara, had loved this house, loved filling it with music and the scent of rosemary bread. After she left, not by choice, but by the cruel turn of an autumn night, the silence grew teeth. It bit deep until one rainy evening, a small shadow appeared at the door. A kitten, drenched and trembling. Elias took her in, wrapped her in a towel, warmed milk on the stove, pebbles named for the smooth gray stones Clara collected from riverbanks. Then came Marigold, months later, perched like a fallen sunbeam on the garden wall, aloof at first, watching. But one evening, she nudged her head against Elias's hand, a silent treaty. Now, they were his compass. Pebbles anchored him, her purrs, a heartbeat against the hollow hours. Marigold, his quiet shadow, leading him to corners where sunlight pooled like liquid honey, reminding him to pause, to breathe. Tonight, Elias stirred. The clock chimed 9 times. Deep, sonorous notes filling the room. Time for bed. He rose slowly, joints whispering their age. Pebbles stretched, a slow arc of fur, before padding after him. Marigold remained, gazing out into the velvet dark. Elias moved through the house, turning off lamps, each click a tiny eclipse, leaving only the moonlight streaming through the kitchen window. He paused there, looking out at the garden, Clara's garden, now wild and overgrown. Roses climbed the fence like sleeping dragons. Lavender spilled onto the path, its scent drifting in through the cracked window. Something glinted near the old oak, a flicker of light, like a tiny star fallen to earth. Elias frowned, rubbed his eyes. probably a firefly or a trick of the tired moon. But then Marigold hissed, a sound like steam escaping, sharp, startling. Elias turned. She stood rigid on the sill, fur bristling, eyes fixed, not on the garden, but on the hallway, the dark mouth of the corridor leading to the bedrooms. Pebbles froze too, ears flat, a low growl vibrating in her throat. Elias followed their gaze. Nothing there, just shadows, draped like velvet. And yet, the air thickened, cooled, as if winter had breathed through the walls. He took a step toward the hall, his slippers whispering on the floorboards. "What is it?" he murmured, his voice a dry leaf in the stillness. Marigold leaped down, silent, elegant. She stalked forward, tail high, pebbles pressed against Elias's leg, trembling. The darkness in the hall seemed to shift, to ripple, like water when a stone drops. And then a faint sound, not from the hall, from the garden behind him. Elias turned back to the window, the glimmer near the oak, now brighter, pulsing softly like a heartbeat made of light. And beneath it, a shape, small, curled, like a sleeping cat, but not Marigold, not Pebbles. This creature glowed faintly with a silver sheen, its fur like spun moonlight. Elias's breath caught. Marigold yelled, a sound he'd never heard, sharp as broken glass. Pebbles hissed, ears pinned back. The creature outside lifted its head, two eyes, like liquid mercury, met Elias's and blinked, slowly, deliberately. Then it stood, stretched with impossible grace, and took a step toward the house, toward the door, the very door Elias knew he had locked an hour ago. Yet now the handle turned, silently, smoothly, as if guided by an unseen hand. The door creaked open, just a sliver, revealing not the garden, but a swirling mist, silver and cold. And within it, shapes moved, whispering. Elias reached out, a trembling hand, toward the cats. Marigold pressed against him. Pebbles hid behind his ankles. All three stared as the door opened wider and the mist began to spill into the room, bringing with it the scent of snow and forgotten things, and a voice so faint it might have been the wind or memory itself calling his name. Elias. It sighed like frost on glass. The cats tensed. Elias's heart hammered against his ribs. The mist curled around the chair legs like living smoke. Tendrils reached toward the fireplace where Clara's portrait smiled. From the mantel, the silver creature stepped through the doorway. Its paws made no sound, left no prints, only a trail of fading light. It stopped in the center of the room, tilted its head, and those mercury eyes held his again, unblinking, ancient. Then it opened its mouth, not to hiss, not to mewl, but to speak in a voice like chimes in a frozen breeze. She sent me, it said, and Elias knew who. Clara. His breath turned to ice in his chest. The mist swirled higher, filling the room with dancing shadows. The cats huddled closer, their warmth the only anchor in the sudden cold. The creature took another step closer. There is a place, it whispered, where shadows play and memories are not lost, but waiting. It paused, eyes glowing brighter. Would you like to see? Elias tried to speak, his throat too tight, too dry. He could only stare at the cat, at the mist, at the impossible unfolding in his living room. Marigold let out a soft trill. Not fear, something else. Recognition? The creature's tail swayed slowly, like a metronome, measuring the silence. Do not be afraid, it murmured. The journey is gentle. It lifted a paw, pointed, not at Elias, but at the portrait of Clara. Her eyes, in the painting, seemed to gleam, to hold a secret smile. The mist thickened, wrapping around the furniture, the bookshelves, the lamps. blurring the edges of the world. Elias felt pebbles nudge his hand, a soft pressure grounding him. Marigold took a step toward the creature, curious, unafraid. The silver cat inclined its head toward her as if in greeting. Then it turned back to Elias. "Come," it breathed. "Bring them." A nod toward pebbles and marigold. They are the key. Elias's hand found Marigold's head, her fur soft and real. Pebbles leaned in, purring bravely. The mist swirled around their legs, cool but not unkind. The creature glowed brighter, its form shimmering like a mirage. "The door," it said softly, "will not stay open long." It turned and began to walk toward the portrait, toward Clara's smile. But instead of stopping, it walked into the wall, through it, vanishing like smoke through a keyhole, leaving only a fading silver light and the mist still swirling, still sighing. Elias stood frozen, cats pressed close. The portrait seemed to ripple, as if the wall had turned to water or mist. He took a single step toward it, drawn, terrified, hopeful. The voice came again, fainter now, from beyond the wall. "Follow," it whispered, and Elias lifted his hand, reached out toward the painted smile of his lost love. His fingers nearly touched the frame when Marigold darted forward, a streak of gold, into the mist, into the wall, vanishing, gone. Pebbles yelled, a sound of pure panic. She clawed at Elias's trousers, pleading to follow, to flee. He didn't know. The mist lapped at his knees. The cold deepened. The portrait rippled again, and in its surface, for a heartbeat, he did not see Clara, but Marigold, running through a field of silver grass, under a sky full of unfamiliar stars. Then it was gone, just paint, canvas, wood. The mist began to thin, fading Like a dream, upon waking, the room returned, solid, quiet, moonlit, but Marigold was still gone, vanished into the wall, into the mist. Elias sank to his knees. Pebbles crawled into his lap, shivering, whimpering. Both stared at the spot where the wall had swallowed gold and light. A sob rose in Elias's throat, choked him. What had he done? What had he seen? Was it madness? Grief? Or something else? He touched the wall, solid, unyielding, cold plaster, no trace of mist, of magic, of marigold, only silence, and the portrait smiling down, knowing, eternal. Pebbles licked his trembling hand, a rough comfort. Elias gathered her close, buried his face in her storm cloud fur, breathed in her scent of dust and sunlight and home. Where? He whispered. Where did she go? Pebbles purred, a broken rumble, as if she knew, but could not say. Outside, the wind stirred, rattling the window pane. Elias looked up through the glass. Near the old oak, a flicker, silver, bright, then gone, and with it the faintest echo of a chime, of a voice he'd loved, saying, "Find her." Elias held Pebbles tighter, stared at the wall, the impossible wall. A choice loomed, as large as the night. Stay in the known world, with its solid floors and locked doors and aching emptiness, or step into the mist, into the mystery. Follow Marigold, follow the voice, follow her. He rose, slowly, legs trembling. Pebbles clung to him, her claws, gentle hooks, in his sweater. He walked toward the wall, toward the portrait. His reflection ghosted over Clara's face, pale, terrified, determined. He lifted a hand. Again, this time, not tentative, but sure. His palm pressed flat against the wall, where Marigold vanished, where the mist had been thickest. He closed his eyes, breathed in. The scent of lavender still clung to the air. and something else. Snow and starlight. Clara, he whispered, bring her back, or take me to her. He wasn't sure which he meant. The wall remained solid, silent, unmoving. Pebbles nuzzled his neck, a soft mew, as if urging patience or courage. Elias leaned his forehead against the cool plaster, defeated. Then a sound from behind him, not the garden, the hallway, the dark corridor, a soft padding of paws, not running, walking slowly, deliberately toward him. Elias froze. Pebbles stiffened. Her growl, a low vibration against his chest. He turned, slowly, heart pounding, dreading what he might see. The hallway was dark, but at its edge, where moonlight met shadow, a shape sat, watching him. Not silver, not mist, fur, black as midnight, eyes glowing like embers. A third cat, one he had never seen before. It tilted its head, opened its mouth in a soundless mew. Then it turned and walked back into the dark, pausing just once to glance over its shoulder, as if waiting for him to follow into the deeper shadows, where the house held its oldest secrets. And Elias knew the choice was not over. It had only just begun. The black cat's eyes glowed like banked coals in the hallway's gloom, a silhouette carved from absolute night. It held Elias's gaze for 3 heartbeats, long, heavy, silent. Then it turned with liquid grace and melted back into the shadows of the corridor, leaving only the impression of those ember eyes and an unspoken command hanging in the air. Follow. Elias stood, rooted. Pebbles, a trembling storm cloud in his arms. Her purr stuttered, uneven. Fear and fierce loyalty warring within her. The living room felt cavernous now. Moonlight painted cold stripes on the floor. The portrait of Clara smiled serenely above the empty fireplace. No trace remained of the silver mist, the glowing creature, or Marigold's golden presence. Only the scent lingered, faint, elusive. Snow and starlight and something else. Old paper, dried lavender, Clara's perfume. Elias shivered, not from cold, though the room felt suddenly chilled from the sheer, impossible weight of what had unfolded. Had he dreamed it? Hallucinated from grief and loneliness? But Pebbles had seen it too, felt it. Her fear was real, tangible, as real as the rough texture of her fur against his cheek. And now, this new shadow, this midnight cat, a guide, a trick, a fragment of his unraveling mind. He took a hesitant step toward the hallway. Pebbles stiffened, a tiny whine escaping her throat. "I know," Elias murmured, his voice a rasp in the stillness. "I'm scared too." But Marigold was gone, vanished into solid plaster, swallowed by magic or madness. He couldn't leave her there. Wherever there was, he had to understand, had to follow the thread of impossibility, even if it led deeper into the dark. He walked slowly toward the hallway, each step a small act of courage. The floorboards creaked beneath his slippers. Familiar sounds, now ominous. In the aftermath, the hallway stretched before him, long, narrow. Doors stood closed on either side. The bathroom, the spare room, full of boxes and dust-covered memories. At the far end, the master bedroom, where Clara had drawn her last breath, and the basement door, old, heavy wood, rarely opened. The black cat had vanished somewhere along this passage, into which shadow Elias paused midway, listening, holding his breath. The house held its breath, too. Silence, thick as velvet. Then, a soft sound. Scritch, scritch, like claws, gently tapping on wood, coming from behind him, from the living room. He turned, swiftly, heart leaping. Pebbles hissed, low and wary. The sound stopped. The room lay empty. Moonlight pooled on the armchair where he'd sat just moments before the world turned strange. Had the silver cat returned? Or was it the house itself whispering? He took a step back toward the living room. Pebbles pressed harder against him, urging him forward, down the hall, not back. Scritch, scritch. The sound came again, louder now, insistent, not from the chair, from the wall where Marigold had disappeared. Elias moved closer, drawn against his will. He stood before the plaster where the portrait hung. The scritch, scritch was coming from within the wall, behind the painting. A chill raced down his spine. Marigold, he whispered hoarsely. He reached out, a trembling hand, toward the frame. Before he could touch it, the scratching stopped. Silence fell again, heavier. Then a soft, muffled mew, unmistakable. Marigold's voice, but distant, filtered through layers of something solid and yet not. It sounded frightened, alone. Marigold, Elias called, a little louder. Pebbles echoed with a plaintive yowl. No answer, just the oppressive silence, the sense of vast space. On the other side of thin plaster, he touched the wall, pushed, solid, impenetrable. Frustration bubbled in his chest. Hot tears pricked his eyes. Helplessness, a deep well. He knew too well. He leaned his forehead against the cool surface. Clara, he breathed. Help me find her. A sigh seemed to ripple through the air, not his own. Lighter, sweeter, carrying the faintest hint of rosemary. Clara's sigh. He knew it, like his own breath. Pebbles lifted her head, ears pricked, listening to something Elias couldn't hear. Then Footsteps, soft, deliberate, padding down the hallway. Behind him, he whirled. The black cat stood at the entrance to the corridor, watching him, its ember eyes unreadable. It didn't approach, didn't retreat. It simply sat, tail curled around its paws, a statue of shadow, waiting. Elias stared back. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice raw. The cat blinked slowly. Then it rose, turned, and walked with unhurried grace toward the end of the hallway, toward the basement door. It stopped before the heavy wood, looked back over its shoulder. Its eyes gleamed in the dimness, an invitation, clear, unmistakable. This way. Elias hesitated. The basement, a place of concrete floors and cobwebs, of stored furniture draped in sheets like ghosts, of Clara's old easel and unfinished paintings, a place he rarely visited. The ache, too sharp, the memories, too vivid. But Marigold, her muffled mew, still echoed in his mind. The silver cat's words, they are the key. Did that include this shadowy stranger? Pebbles squirmed in his arms, wanting down. He set her gently on the floor. She immediately pressed herself against his leg, trembling but resolute. He took a deep breath. The scent of old dust and forgotten things seemed to drift from beneath the basement door, and beneath that, something else. Cool earth, stone, the faint, metallic tang of ozone, like the air before a storm or after a lightning strike. The black cat waited, patient, unmoving. Elias walked toward it, each step echoing in the narrow space. Pebbles stayed close, her flank brushing his ankle. He stopped before the door. The black cat looked up at him. Its gaze held no malice, only a deep, ancient knowing. It lifted a paw and placed it gently against the wood just below the tarnished brass knob. Here, Elias reached out. His hand hovered over the cold metal. He hadn't opened this door in years. Clara's studio was down there. Her unfinished landscapes, her jars of brushes, still holding dried paint. Her spirit felt strongest there, a presence both comforting and agonizing. "Is she down there?" he whispered to the cat. Marigold? The cat merely blinked, its paw still resting on the door. Elias turned the knob. It resisted, stiff with disuse, then gave with a groan of protesting metal. The door swung inward, revealing darkness, a steep staircase descending into blackness. The smell of cool earth and stone was stronger now, mixed with oil paint and turpentine and something else, something green, growing like ferns in deep woods. Impossible. The black cat stepped forward, its form disappearing instantly into the gloom. Only its eyes remained visible, 2 points of smoldering light floating in the void, waiting on the top step. Pebbles pressed harder against Elias's leg, a low growl rumbling in her chest. Not aggression, apprehension, deep, primal caution. Elias fumbled for the light switch, a familiar plate beside the doorframe. He flipped it. Nothing. No sudden glare. No revealing the concrete steps. The bulb was dead. Or perhaps the darkness refused light. He looked down. The ember eyes waited, patient. He could turn back, close the door, retreat to the known world. The empty armchair, the ticking clock, the hollow ache of missing both Clara and now Marigold. Or he could step into the dark, follow the shadow cat into the belly of the house, into the place where Clara's presence still lingered like perfume on old canvases. The ember eyes blinked slowly. Trust. The word formed in his mind, not his own thought, floating Like a feather, Elias took a single step down onto the top stair. The wood creaked loudly under his weight. The sound swallowed by the waiting dark. Pebbles hesitated at the threshold, whining softly. Then she followed, her small paws silent on the steps, a gray ghost at his heels. The black cat turned, its eyes moving away down the stairs. Guiding, Elias descended slowly, hand gripping the rough wooden railing, his eyes strained against the blackness. The air grew cooler, damp, the scent of earth and growing things strengthened. Impossible for a basement. This basement, he knew it. Concrete, shelves, boxes, dust. Not this smell of loam, moss, decaying leaves, and beneath it, water, running water, a faint, distant, gurgling sound. He paused on the 5th step, listening. The house above felt miles away, silent, sealed off. Only the darkness remained, and the twin embers waiting below, and pebbles, a warm pressure against his calf. He continued down, step by careful step. The staircase seemed longer than he remembered, deeper, as if the house had grown roots overnight, reaching into something older. Finally, his slipper touched not concrete, but stone, cool, slightly uneven. He was at the bottom. The black cat's eyes were close now, reflecting a faint, ambient glow that shouldn't exist. He blinked, letting his vision adjust. Shapes emerged from the gloom, not the expected. Bulky furniture under sheets, not shelves of dusty jars. The basement was gone, replaced by a cavern, walls of rough, damp stone, moss clinging in velvety patches, a soft, phosphorescent glow emanating from fungi clustered on the walls like tiny living lanterns, illuminating a narrow path worn smooth by time or water or countless unseen feet. It wound away into darkness, following the sound of running water. The black cat stood on the path, watching him, its fur absorbing the light. A hole in the world. Pebbles pressed against him, her fear tangible, but her eyes wide, taking in the impossible cavern. Her nostrils flared, sniffing the air. The scent of damp stone and green things was overwhelming now. Clean, ancient, alive, and there, faint but unmistakable, the scent of sun-warmed fur and the particular dusty sweetness that was marigold. It drifted down the path, fading but recent. Elias's heart leapt. She's here, he breathed. The black cat turned and began to walk down the mossy path into the depths of the glowing cavern. Pebbles looked up at Elias, a question in her green eyes. He took a step forward onto the ancient stone. The air shifted around him, cooler, fresher, filled with the quiet music of dripping water and distant, hidden streams. He followed the shadow cat and the fading scent of gold deeper into the earth, into the heart of the house's oldest secret. The path curved, revealing a wider space. The cavern opened into a chamber lit by clusters of the glowing fungi. In the center, a still pool, water so clear it reflected the stone ceiling and the soft light like liquid black glass. And beside the pool, sitting perfectly still, gazing into its depths, was the silver cat, its fur shimmering with captured starlight. It didn't turn as they approached, its mercury eyes fixed on the water's surface. The black cat sat nearby, watching Elias, waiting. Pebbles crept forward, cautiously, her gaze fixed on the silver creature. No hiss, no growl, only intense curiosity. Elias scanned the chamber, looking for gold, for marigold, She wasn't here. Only the pool, the stone, the two mysterious cats. The silver cat finally lifted its head. It looked not at Elias, but past him, toward the path they had just taken. Its eyes widened slightly, a ripple of something like surprise or recognition. Elias turned, following its gaze, back down the path, into the gloom. At first, he saw nothing, only shadows and glowing moss. Then, a movement near the cavern entrance, a shape detaching itself from the darkness, taller than a cat, thinner, walking on two legs, silhouetted against the faint light filtering from the staircase. Far behind, a figure, human or nearly so, draped in flowing shadows, its face unseen, but Elias felt its gaze fixed upon him, cold, assessing, unfriendly. The silver cat let out a sound like ice cracking, a warning. The black cat hissed, a low, dangerous rumble. Pebbles froze, then darted behind Elias's legs. The figure took another step forward into the chambers, fungal light revealing not a face, but a smooth, featureless expanse of pale porcelain mask. And the silver cat whispered a single word into the sudden, terrifying silence. Keeper. The word hung in the damp air like a shard of ice. Keeper. The silver cat remained rigid beside the obsidian pool, its mercury eyes fixed on the porcelain mask. The black cat, a low, continuous rumble vibrating in its throat, a sound of primal warning. Pebbles pressed so tightly against Elias's legs, he could feel the frantic drumming of her small heart. The figure stood motionless, tall, unnaturally slender, draped in flowing, shadow-gray robes that seemed to drink the light. The mask was utterly smooth, no eyes, no mouth, only a faint, unnerving curve, suggesting something almost human. It held no lantern, yet the pale glow from the cave fungi seemed to shy away from its presence, creating a halo of deeper gloom. The silence stretched, thin, brittle, broken only by the drip, drip, drip of unseen water from the cavern ceiling onto the stone floor, and the low thrum of the black cat's warning. Elias found his voice dry, ragged. "Who are you?" The question echoed faintly against the damp stone. The masked figure did not react. Its head tilted almost imperceptibly, as if listening to a sound beyond hearing. Then it moved, not walking, gliding effortlessly over the uneven stone, toward the pool, toward the silver cat. The silver cat arched its back, fur flaring into a halo of shimmering light. But it didn't flee. It stood its ground before the dark water, protecting something. The keeper stopped a few paces away. Its blank mask turned slowly toward Elias. He felt the weight of its unseen gaze, cold, impersonal, like the touch of deep earth. A voice spoke, not from the mask. It seemed to emanate from the air itself, from the stones, from the whispering water. A voice, dry as ancient parchment, devoid of inflection. "This place is not for mortals." The words settled like dust. Elias swallowed hard. I didn't mean to intrude," he managed. "I'm looking for my cat, Marigold." She vanished through a wall, following him. He nodded toward the silver cat. The keeper's mask shifted slightly toward the silver creature. The messenger fulfills its purpose. The silver cat, the messenger, flicked its tail, a gesture of defiance or impatience. Its gaze darted toward the dark pool, then back to the keeper. The path was opened by need. The keeper's voice continued, "But the way is closing." Its hand emerged from the gray sleeve, long, bone pale, fingertips like polished stone. It gestured toward the path they had entered by, the way back to the stairs. back to the world of locked doors and ticking clocks. Return. The command hung in the cool air. Final. Elias's heart sank, but Marigold, the golden one, chose the path of memory. The keeper's hand now gestured toward the obsidian pool. She walks where echoes linger. Elias stared at the dark water. It reflected the glowing moss, the cavern ceiling, the pale mask, but no Marigold, only stillness. Where? Elias breathed. How do I find her? The keeper remained silent. Its mask, a pale moon. In the gloom, the black cat suddenly moved. It padded silently past the keeper toward the pool, ignoring the figure of cold authority. It stopped at the water's edge, looked down. Its ember eyes reflected in the black mirror. Then it lifted a paw, delicately touched the surface of the water. Not a splash, a ripple, a single perfect circle spreading outward, distorting the reflections. The image swirled, cleared, and Elias gasped. The pool no longer showed the cavern ceiling. It showed a sunlit room, warm, filled with the scent of rosemary and oil paint. Clara's studio, but not as it was in the basement. This was brighter, alive. Sun streamed through a large window onto a half-finished canvas, a landscape of rolling hills under a vast sky. And there, curled on a sun-warmed rug beside an easel, was Marigold, her golden fur glowing, her ice-blue eyes half closed in contentment. Asleep or dreaming, Elias took an involuntary step forward. Marigold, the image in the pool, wavered like a reflection in a breeze. Marigold didn't stir. The keeper's voice cut through the fragile hope. An echo, the dry whisper, held no comfort. A ripple in the pool of what was and what might have been. The black cat looked up at Elias. Its ember eyes held an intensity, a fierce, urgent question. See? The messenger, the silver cat, chirruped softly, a sound like ice crystals tinkling. It nudged its head toward the pool, then looked meaningfully at Elias. The path is memory, the keeper stated. The key is feeling. Its stone pale hand gestured again toward the exit, but the gate closes. Return or be lost among the echoes. The air seemed to thicken, the cool dampness pressing closer. The light from the fungi dimmed fractionally. Pebbles whined softly, her green eyes fixed on the pool, on the image of her sister. Elias felt a desperate pull toward the water, toward that sunlit room, toward Marigold. But the keeper stood like a sentinel, blocking the direct path. Its blank mask, a wall of cold indifference. I can't leave her, Elias said, his voice stronger now. Not again. The words hung. Not again. Clara's face flashed in his mind. Her smile, her eyes, the crushing finality of her absence. He wouldn't, couldn't abandon Marigold to this place of echoes and cold keepers. The black cat suddenly darted, not toward the pool, not toward the exit. It streaked like living shadow past the keeper toward the far wall of the cavern where the glowing moss was thinner, where darkness pulled deeper. The keeper's mask snapped toward it, a ripple of something like surprise or displeasure. The black cat reached the wall, placed both front paws against the damp stone, and pushed. Not physically. It leaned its small body against the rock, as if willing something to happen. The messenger, the silver cat, yelled, a sharp, commanding sound. Its gaze locked on Elias, then on the pool. The image of the sunlit studio was fading, growing dimmer, fainter, like a dream, slipping away. Upon waking, Marigold's golden form becoming translucent, a ghost of warmth. No! Elias cried. He lurched forward, toward the pool, toward the fading light. The keeper moved effortlessly, its shadow-gray robe swirling like mist. It shifted, blocking his path to the water's edge. The cold emanating from it deepened, a physical pressure pushing him back. The gate closes. The dry voice was final, absolute. Pebbles acted with a courage Elias hadn't known she possessed. She launched herself, not at the keeper, not at the pool, but at the silver cat, the messenger, a small gray missile of desperate love. She collided gently with the shimmering creature, bumping it with her head, urging it toward the water. The messenger stumbled a half step. Its mercury eyes widened. It looked from Pebbles to Elias, to the fading image in the pool. Then it made a decision. With a fluid leap, it landed precisely at the edge of the obsidian water, where the black cat had touched the surface. It lowered its head, not to drink, but to breathe onto the water. A shimmering mist, like frozen starlight, poured from its mouth onto the pool. The water, where the image flickered, seized the light, held it. The fading scene of the sunlit studio snapped back into focus, brighter, clearer. Marigold, lifting her head as if startled, awake, her blue eyes scanning the room, seeking them. The keeper made a sound, not a voice, a vibration, low, powerful, like stone grinding against stone. The cavern trembled. Tiny fragments of rock dusted down from the ceiling. The light from the fungi flickered dangerously. The keeper turned fully toward the messenger, its blank mask, a terrifying void. You transgress. The words were not spoken. They were imposed, a weight on the mind. The messenger held its ground beside the pool, its starlight mist still flowing, holding the image aloft. The black cat pushed harder against the wall, its small body trembling with effort. The stone where it pressed began to glow faintly, a warm, amber light, different from the cool fungi, the light of a hearth fire, of home. Elias saw his chance. The keeper was focused on the messenger, on the transgression. The path to the pool was momentarily clear. He didn't hesitate. He ran, not away, toward the water, toward the image of marigold, toward the shimmering mist of the messenger. Pebbles yowled, a sound of pure encouragement, and followed. The keeper sensed the movement. Its mask swung back toward Elias. The stone-grinding vibration intensified. The cavern shook. Harder. Elias stumbled, almost fell, regained his footing. 3 more strides. He reached the edge of the pool, looked down into the water, into the sunlit room. Marigold was on her feet now, ears pricked, tail high, staring up as if looking through the water at him. Her mouth opened in a silent mew. Help! The messenger looked at Elias. Its mercury eyes held an impossible depth. Sorrow, hope, urgency. Reach, it seemed to say, not with words, with its gaze. Elias dropped to his knees on the cold stone, ignoring the tremor shaking the cavern, ignoring the keeper turning its terrible, impersonal attention fully upon him. He reached out, his hand trembling, toward the dark water, toward the shimmering surface that held the image of his lost cat, of that impossible, sunlit room. His fingers hovered an inch above the reflection. The cold from the keeper was a physical force now, pressing against his back like winter wind. Pebbles pressed against his side, warm, trembling. Her purr, a frantic vibration against his arm. The messenger's starlight mist flickered. The image wavered. The keeper was gliding closer, its stone pale hand raising, not to strike, to touch, to seal, to banish. Elias closed his eyes, didn't see the hand descending, saw only Marigold's blue eyes, Clara's smile, the warmth of home. He breathed in deeply, The scent of rosemary, suddenly strong, overpowering the damp stone, filling his senses. His hand dropped, fingers breaking the surface of the obsidian pool, expecting cold water, shock. Instead, his fingers met warmth, solidity, sun-warmed wooden floorboards, and soft golden fur. Marigold's head pressing upward into his touch, real, warm, alive. A gasp escaped him, not his own. From behind the keeper, its unseen gaze felt suddenly stunned. The grinding vibration stopped. The cavern fell utterly silent. Even the dripping water held its breath. Elias opened his eyes. He was still kneeling by the pool in the cavern, but his hand, his arm, up to the elbow, was gone, vanished below the surface of the dark water, which no longer reflected the cave. It showed only the sunlit floorboards of Clara's studio and Marigold rubbing her face frantically against his invisible fingers. Her purr, a tangible vibration traveling up his arm, strong, relieved. Home, the messenger, the silver cat, let out a soft, triumphant chirp. The black cat at the far wall pushed one last time. The warm amber light, where its paws pressed, flared brightly. For a heartbeat, the outline of a door appeared in the stone. Simple wood, familiar. The basement door, his basement door. The way home, open, waiting. The keeper recovered, its stone pale hand still raised, swept down, not toward Elias, toward the pool, toward his arm, disappeared into another world, to sever the connection. Pebbles saw, acted with a fierce yowl. She leaped, not at the keeper, into the air, toward the descending hand, a small gray shield of love and claws. The keeper's hand flicked, a dismissive gesture, like brushing away a fly. Pebbles was hurled sideways, a startled cry torn from her. She hit the cavern floor with a soft thud, lay still, a small heap of storm cloud fur. Pebbles, Elias roared. The sound, raw, tore through the silence. He tried to pull his arm back, to reach for her, but Marigold, on the other side, clung, hooked her claws gently into his sleeve, holding him, pleading, "Don't let go." The keeper turned its mask toward the still form of Pebbles, its head tilted, considering. The messenger hissed, a sound of pure fury, like shattering crystal. It gathered itself, prepared to spring at the towering figure. The black cat abandoned the glowing door in the wall, streaked across the stone toward Pebbles. The keeper's hand lifted again, this time pointing at the dark pool, at Elias's vanished arm, at the connection, holding worlds a breath apart. Its voice, when it came, was colder than the deepest earth. Choose. The word froze the air. The golden echo or the gray shadow. Save one, lose the other. The gate closes. Now, Elias stared, horror dawning, at Marigold, her blue eyes wide, trusting, holding his hand in her sunlit world. At Pebbles, motionless, on the cold stone, the black cat, nuzzling her, urgently, the warm amber door, in the wall, fading, flickering, the messenger, poised between fury and despair. The keeper's finger remained outstretched, a conduit of cold finality, waiting for his choice, in the sun or in the shadows, gold or gray. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think, only feel the impossible, unendurable weight of the choice, crushing him against the stone floor of the cavern of his breaking heart. Silence, like shards of glass, filling the cavern. The keeper's command hung frozen in the damp air. Choose, gold or gray, sunlight or shadow. Elias knelt, paralyzed. His right arm still vanished to the elbow in the obsidian pool. Marigold's warmth, her frantic purr, vibrated up his bones, real, alive, just beyond the impossible water. To the left, on cold stone, pebbles lay, a small, still mound of storm cloud fur. The black cat nudged her gently with its nose. A soft whimper escaped the shadow creature. Despair, the messenger, the silver cat, hissed again at the keeper. Its fur blazed with captured starlight, a tiny supernova defying the cavern's gloom. But the keeper stood implacable, its porcelain mask a void, its stone-pale finger unwavering, pointing at the pool, at the fading amber door in the far wall. The vibration of closing pressed inward, like the earth itself, squeezing the breath from the world. Elias looked down into the water, into Marigold's wide, trusting, ice-blue eyes. She didn't understand the choice, only that he was here, touching her, her anchor. He looked at Pebbles, the brave little storm, who had leapt, without thought, to shield him, who purred on cold nights, pressed against his loneliness, his throat closed, tight, painful, a choice no heart should ever make. He remembered Clara's voice, soft in the kitchen, years ago. Love isn't a pie, Elias. You don't have to slice it smaller to share it. Love grows. A choked sob broke from him. The keeper's finger twitched. Impatience, finality, the amber glow of the basement door flickered like a dying candle. The messenger yowled, a desperate crystalline sound. Now, it demanded, choose now. Elias closed his eyes, felt the warmth of Marigold's fur under his fingers, felt the phantom ache of Pebbles' weight missing from his side. He breathed in damp stone, ozone, and beneath it, rosemary, strong, insistent, like Clara, standing beside him. He opened his eyes, looked, not at the keeper, not at the pool, not at Pebbles. He looked at the messenger, the silver cat, who had spoken of places where memories wait, who had held open the path with its starlight breath. You said, Elias whispered, his voice scraped raw, but clear. You said, they are the key. His gaze included Pebbles, the black cat, the messenger itself, all of them. The messenger stilled. Its mercury eyes widened, understanding dawning like a slow sunrise. The keeper's mask tilted a fraction, a crack in the porcelain indifference. The gate closes. The dry voice held a new note. Warning or challenge? Elias ignored it. He focused on the messenger, on the fading amber door, on the love anchoring him to two worlds. I choose, he said, louder now. His voice echoed off the wet stone. I choose neither. He took a breath, deep, trembling, filled with the scent of rosemary, and then he moved, not pulling his arm from the pool, not reaching for pebbles. He lunged sideways toward the messenger, his free hand, his left hand, shot out, not to grab, to touch. His fingertips brushed the shimmering fur of the silver cat. It felt like touching liquid moonlight, cool, electric, full of whispered secrets. The messenger didn't flinch. It leaned into the touch. A soft chime sounded deep within its chest. Agreement, sacrifice. The keeper hissed, a sound like ice splitting a frozen lake. Its stone pale hand swept down, faster now, not toward Elias, toward the pool, to sever the connection forever. But Elias was already moving, guided by the touch of moonlight, by the scent of rosemary. He twisted, still kneeling, his right arm still submerged, anchored to marigold. He swept his left arm in a wide arc, away from the messenger, toward the still form of pebbles. His fingers stretched, reaching across the cold stone, past the nuzzling black cat, toward the soft fur of the little storm cloud who had defended him, who loved sun-warmed windowsills and the sound of his voice. The keeper's hand descended a breath away from the dark water. Elias's fingertips touched Pebble's side, gentle, a caress, a claim, mine. The messenger threw back its head and screamed, not a sound of pain, of power, pure, piercing, like a star, exploding in absolute silence. A torrent of shimmering, frozen starlight poured from its open mouth, not onto the pool, onto Elias, onto his outstretched arms, one bathed in sun warmth and golden fur, the other touching cold stone and gray shadow. The starlight flowed over him, a cascade of impossible light. It washed over his shoulder, down his back, over the hand, touching pebbles, and then it flowed into the pool, where his right arm vanished. The light hit the water. The dark surface didn't ripple. It ignited a blinding, silent detonation of pure white light. Elias cried out, squeezing his eyes shut against the brilliance. He felt a jolt, like lightning, traveling up both arms, connecting. Marigolds purr, pebbles stillness, the messenger's scream, the keeper's cold, all surging through him, a conduit, a bridge. The cavern vanished. The light was everything, blinding, soundless, weightless. He felt no stone beneath his knees, no damp air, only the vibration of two hearts, one frantic against his right palm, one terrifyingly still beneath his left fingertips, and the fading, distant chime of the messenger's power. Then the light folded, collapsed like a dying star, sucked inward, leaving darkness, not the cool gloom of the cavern, a soft, velvety, utter blackness, silence, complete. Elias kept his eyes closed, afraid. What world was this? Had he chosen nothing, lost everything? Then warmth on his right hand, the familiar rough lick of a cat's tongue, marigold, a soft, questioning mew. Here, he dared to open his eyes, blinked, adjusting, not darkness, twilight, soft amber twilight. He knelt, not on stone, on thick, cool grass, dew-wet, fragrant. He was in a garden, not Clara's wild, overgrown sanctuary. This was ordered, peaceful, paths of smooth river stones wound between beds of lavender and blooming roses. Foxgloves stood tall, like sentinels, their bells holding the last light. Ahead, a simple wooden bench under an ancient oak tree, its leaves a canopy of deepest green, and beside him, Marigold, whole, unharmed, her golden fur glowing softly in the twilight. She butted her head against his arm, purring loudly, relief radiating from her. Elias gasped, "Marigold." He gathered her close, burying his face in her warm fur. Tears, hot and sudden, stung his eyes. She was here, safe, but pebbles. He looked down at his left hand, still outstretched, where it had touched the cold stone and her still fur. His fingers rested not on grass, on soft, storm-gray fur. Pebbles curled beside him, her green eyes open, weak, but focused on his face. Her sides rose and fell, shallowly, alive. A soft, pained sound escaped her, not a mew, a sigh. Elias gently gathered her too, cradling both cats against his chest. Marigold nuzzled Pebble's ear, a soft rumble starting in her own chest. Comforting, sisterly, Elias held them, rocking slightly. The terror, the impossible choice, receding like a nightmare at dawn. But questions crowded in. Where was this? The cavern? The keeper? The messenger? The black cat? He looked around. The garden was serene, beautiful, familiar in a way he couldn't place, like a half-remembered dream. The twilight seemed eternal, no sun setting, no moon rising, just this soft, amber glow. He stood, slowly, legs trembling, holding the cats close. Marigold purred steadily. Pebbles felt fragile, light, but warm, alive. He took a step onto the river stone path. It felt cool and solid beneath his slippers. He walked toward the bench under the oak tree. As he approached, he saw someone was sitting there, a figure, slight, draped in a shawl the color of twilight, hair silver as moonlight. Elias stopped, his breath caught. The figure turned, a face lined with age and kindness, eyes as blue as a summer sky, a smile that crinkled the corners, warm, knowing. "Hello, Elias," the woman said, her voice like the chime of distant bells, familiar, impossibly, heartbreakingly familiar. Clara, his Clara, but not as she was when she left. Older, wiser, a gentle eternity in her gaze. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, only stare. Tears streaming, unchecked, down his face. Clara patted the space beside her on the bench. "Come," she said softly. "Sit. Bring our girls. Our girls." The words unlocked him. He stumbled forward, sank onto the bench beside her, still clutching marigold and pebbles. Clara reached out, a hand gnarled with age, but gentle. She touched Pebble's head, then Marigold's. Her touch seemed to bring instant comfort. Pebbles sighed, deeper this time, relaxing into Elias's hold. "They are brave," Clara murmured. "Braver than they know." Elias found his voice, a ragged whisper. "Clara," she smiled, that knowing smile. "A part of me," she said, an echo that lingered. She looked around at the twilight garden. "This place is made of such echoes, memories too strong to fade, love that refuses to be forgotten." Elias looked at her face, her beloved face, older, but the same light in her eyes, the same warmth. "The silver cat," he began. "The messenger," Clara nodded. "A creature of the in-between. It heard your loneliness, Elias, the hollow hours after I left. It felt the strength of the love you poured into these two." She stroked Marigold's golden back. It opened a path, but paths have keepers. Her expression sobered. The keeper is not evil. It guards the borders, prevents the living from becoming lost among the echoes. Its rules are ancient, binary, one or the other. It did not understand. She looked directly into his eyes, her gaze holding galaxies that some loves refuse to be divided. Elias held her gaze, the tears still falling. The messenger, he whispered. What happened to it? Clara's smile faded. A shadow crossed her face. It broke the oldest rule. It offered a third path, used its essence to forge a bridge. The light you saw was its life, burning bright. She looked down at her hands. Such power has a cost. A chill touched Elias's heart. Is it? He couldn't say it. Gone? Clara shook her head. Not gone. Dimmed. Fragmented. Like starlight. Scattered across a vast night. It will take an age to gather itself again. Guilt, a cold stone, settled in Elias's gut. Because of me, Clara touched his arm, her hand warm, real. Because of love, Elias, its choice, its gift. She looked toward the far end of the garden, where the twilight deepened into soft violet. The path is still open. For now, the keeper is weakened by the bridge's making, confused, but it will recover, and it will seek to mend the tear, to send you back. Elias tightened his hold on the cats. I don't want to go back. The words came out before he could stop them. Not without you. Clara's smile was infinitely sad. This place is not life, Elias. It is the echo, the beautiful. Linger. I am at peace here. But you, she touched his cheek, are still rooted in the living world. Your story isn't finished. And these two, she nodded at Marigold and pebbles. They need their garden wall in the sunlight, their favorite chair, their Elias. He leaned into her touch. The scent of rosemary enveloped him. "How long?" he whispered. "How long do we have?" Clara looked toward the violet horizon. "Not long." The keeper gathers its strength. You will feel the pull. When it comes, you must go. Do not look back. Elias looked down at Pebbles. Her breathing was deeper now, steadier. Marigold was cleaning her sister's ear, a picture of quiet contentment. He looked at Clara, memorizing every line, every fleck of blue in her eyes, the way the twilight caught the silver in her hair. "I miss you," he said, simply the truest thing. Her eyes shimmered. "I know, my love. I miss you, too. But I am always here." She placed a hand over his heart. In the quiet moments, in the scent of rosemary, in the purr of a contented cat. "Look for me there." A tremor ran through the garden, subtle, like a sigh. The leaves on the oak tree shivered. The twilight seemed to flicker like a candle in a draught. Clara's hand tightened on his. "It begins," she said softly. "The keeper calls the fabric back to order." Elias felt it, a gentle tug, not on his body, on his being, a summons back to solid floors, locked doors, the ache of absence. He resisted. "Clara, shoo," she soothed. "Hold them. Remember this moment, the feel of the grass, the scent of the roses, my hand in yours." The tremor came again, stronger. The violet horizon darkened, threatening storm. The air grew cooler, less fragrant, more like stone. "You must go now, Elias," Clara urged, her voice still calm but edged with urgency. "Take them home." He stood reluctantly, still holding the cat's clothes. Clara stood with him. She reached up, cupped his face in both hands. Her touch, a brand of love. "Live, my darling," she whispered. "Live fully, for both of us." She leaned forward, pressed a kiss to his forehead, warm, real, fleeting. Then she stepped back. Her form seemed to shimmer, to become less substantial, more like the twilight itself. The tug became a pull, insistent, powerful. The garden started to blur at the edges, the colors running like wet paint, the scent of roses fading, replaced by damp stone, ozone. Elias turned, holding marigold and pebbles tighter. He didn't want to see Clara fade. He couldn't bear it. He took a step down the path, away from the bench, away from her. The pull strengthened, drawing him toward the deepening violet, where the garden met the dark. He took another step, then another, forcing himself not to look back, to honor her wish. The grass beneath his feet felt less solid, more like mist. The cats were quiet, watching over his shoulder, their eyes wide. He felt their small hearts beating against his chest, anchors to life. He reached the edge of the violet dark. It wasn't empty. A shape formed, not the keeper, smaller, silhouetted, sitting, watching him approach. The black cat, its ember eyes, glowed softly in the gathering gloom, waiting as he drew nearer. It stood, turned, and walked into the dark. A guide. One last time, Elias followed into the violet shadows. The last thing he heard as the garden dissolved was not Clara's voice. It was a sound like distant chimes, faint, fragile, full of sorrow and hope. The messenger's farewell. Then only darkness and the soft, warm weight of two cats held close against his breaking and healing heart. The pull became a current, carrying him away fully. The scent changed subtly. The clean, ancient dampness of the cavern blended with something warmer, dust, old wood, the faint tang of dried oil paint. Home, the ember eyes brightened, the darkness thinned, shapes resolved, rough stone walls, familiar shelves, shrouded in cobwebs, the heavy basement door stood open above him. Warm yellow light spilled down the wooden stairs. The light from his kitchen, real, solid. The black cat sat on the bottom step, its ember gaze fixed on Elias. Then it turned and walked up the stairs, slowly, deliberately, vanishing into the golden light, leaving Elias standing on the cold, concrete floor, holding his cats, alone. The cavern, the garden, Clara, gone, like a dream, fading at dawn's touch. Only the ache in his arms and the warmth of fur remained real. He climbed slowly, each step a return to gravity, to time, to the creak of familiar wood. He reached the top, stood in the doorway, his kitchen bathed in morning sun, streaming through the window over Clara's herbs on the sill. Rosemary, thyme, alive and green. The clock on the wall ticked, a steady, comforting rhythm. 9 o'clock. Morning. Had only minutes passed, or an eternity? In the Echo Garden? He didn't know, didn't care. He stepped onto the linoleum, warm beneath his slippers, closed the basement door, the heavy thud, a final seal. He walked to the living room. Sunlight poured in through the windows, painting golden stripes on the worn rug. The portrait of Clara smiled down, knowing, at peace. He knelt gently on the rug, unfolded his arms, set Marigold down. She stretched a long, luxurious arc, her golden fur catching the sun, then padded to her favorite spot on the windowsill, watching sparrows in the maple tree. Content, home. Elias cradled pebbles carefully, She felt lighter still, but her green eyes were bright, alert. He laid her in a patch of sunlight near the armchair. She blinked slowly at the warmth, then curled into a soft circle of storm cloud fur. Her purr started faint at first, then stronger, a rumble like distant thunder, warming the floorboards. Healing, Elias sank into his armchair, velvet arms welcoming. He watched them. Marigold, the sentinel, bathed in gold. Pebbles, the anchor, purring in sunlight. His girls, his compass, his heart felt full, not empty, not broken, tender, yes, scarred, certainly, but full of a quiet light, like the garden's twilight. He closed his eyes, breathed in sun-warmed dust, lavender drifting in from the garden, rosemary, Clara. He felt her, not as absence, as presence, in the purr, on the floor, in the watchful gaze, on the sill, in the scent of herbs, on the air, live fully. He would, for her, for them, for himself. The morning stretched, quiet, peaceful. He must have dozed. The angle of sunlight had shifted, warming his knees. A soft sound made him open his eyes. Pebbles was standing tentatively on all four paws. She took a step, then another, toward his chair. No limp, no weakness, just the careful, determined gait of a cat testing newfound strength. She reached the chair leg, looked up at him, her green eyes clear, bright, full of quiet love. Then she jumped a small leap onto the footstool. Then, with graceful effort, onto his lap. She settled, a warm weight against his stomach, turned twice, curled, her purr, a deep, contented thunderstorm against his skin. Elias stroked her soft fur from head to tail, over and over. Marigold watched from the sill, her ice blue eyes soft. Then she too jumped down, padded silently across the rug, leaped lightly onto the armrest. She perched there, regal, watching her sister on Elias's lap, watching him. Then, slowly, she lowered her head and nudged his resting hand, a silent request. He lifted his hand, scratched gently behind her golden ears. She leaned into it, closed her eyes, a soft sigh of utter contentment. Both cats, with him, home, the silver creature, the messenger, was gone, dimmed, scattered. Its sacrifice, a silent gift. In the sunlight, the black cat had vanished back into the walls, the shadows, a quiet guardian fading with the night's magic, but its presence felt in the deep peace that filled the room, in the way the dust motes danced in the sunbeams like tiny stars. Elias leaned back, closed his eyes again. The purrs of his two cats, Marigold on the armrest, Pebbles on his lap, wove together a gentle symphony, a lullaby of belonging. He breathed deeply the scent of home, of fur, of lavender, of rosemary, of love that refused to be lost, that echoed in every sunbeam, every purr, every beat of his healing heart. The journey through mist and memory was over, but the story of this man and his two cats was just a warm, golden, sunlit beginning. And so, dear listener, the warmth settles like a soft blanket around your shoulders. Elias sleeps now in his armchair, cradled by sunlight and the gentle rumble of his beloved cats. The adventure through walls of mist and gardens of twilight has found its peaceful shore. May this story carry you on its quiet current toward your own restful harbor. If this journey soothed your spirit or painted dreams behind your eyelids, consider pressing like a small ripple of appreciation in this quiet space. Subscribe to the channel for more lanterns in the night, more gentle paths to wander as sleep draws near. Tap the bell so tomorrow's story finds you waiting. cozy and adrift, ready for another cinematic dream. Share this moment with someone who needs a harbor tonight. Tell us below where in the world your pillow rests. What stars watch over your window as you drift? We picture you there, wrapped in quiet, carried by the purr of imaginary cats into the deepest, softest, most restoring sleep. Good night, dear traveler. May your dreams be gardens of returning light. Rest well.